Alright, so I'm going to attempt to talk about my Rehoboth Beach, Delaware marathon that I did back in April. It was my first marathon. It was something I kind of stumbled into and stumbled out of, as you'll find out. It was, by many accounts, the hardest thing I've ever done, which I'm sure you ask 100 people who did their first marathon or who've done a marathon, they probably say the same thing. And it was hard for different reasons. I'll get to those. But yeah, this is my Rehoboth Beach. I guess this was called the Coastal Running Festival Marathon, because there's a Rehoboth Beach marathon that I think is different. It's like in December or something. So the marathon I did in Delaware, that's what we're gonna call it. And I'm gonna try to illustrate with some photos and videos that my amazing family took. So my wife Becca came with me, and we brought the kids. So Livy and Cal came, and we got in on Saturday, which even leading up to the marathon was kind of crazy. So I guess I'll start there. The training block, it went okay. I think I mentioned in another video that I said I would do this marathon in like September, and it was kind of like a half-hearted, sure, why not? Again, my friend Rian was doing it with people that he runs with, and I was like, I'd love to do it with you. It wasn't on my radar. I had just kind of fallen back in love with running over that sort of spring and summer. So the fall, I was like, okay, I feel pretty good. Do I feel good enough to do a marathon in, what is that, September, October, November, December, like 7 months? I don't know. But I was like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Thinking that my expectations were going to be, as loose as my yes to do it in the first place. Turns out they weren't, which is why it's taking me now months to really talk about it. It was funny. I got this bag from it, and it had a shirt, a glass, and a hat, which I actually really like the hat. I wear it a lot now, but the bag sat on my dresser for weeks, almost months, because I just didn't want to go back and revisit. But the day I put the hat on was the day I was like, okay, I'm more okay with this now than I have been. So that was a good sign. This is another good sign that I'm ready to kind of talk about it. The training block, again, September I said okay, and Livy was born October 15th. So very early on, almost the very beginning, I had a newborn. So sleep was trash for more than half of the training block. So not something I factored in. Should have, but didn't. And so I did my first long run. I think I've talked about this in another video as well. And I'm just going to be on my phone looking up my Strava. But I did it in November. I think it was the first week of November. I just got a pair of Evo SLs. I was super excited about them. I had been running in like old Asics, or maybe Hoka's. So this is like my first legit pair of running shoes. So I was really excited about them. And So instead of going out for, a little 5K, 10K, maybe 10 miles, no, I was ludicrously stupid and said, I'm just going to run until I want to stop, basically, which is a very dangerous thing to do, because as you'll soon hear, my body quit at 20 miles. So that was my first introduction into a long run. So not a very great first start. I did a lot of firsts in the worst way. So I feel like I made a lot of the mistakes on the front end. So here's hoping that I got them all out of the way, and that when I do Philly, I'm not going to make those mistakes again. I'll probably just make new ones, but not those. So yeah, my legs barely got me to 20 miles. I didn't fuel at all. I didn't have any water either. Again, it was so stupid. But I did it. And I did it with a pretty decent pace too. 8:36 was my average pace. Did it just under 3 hours. So yeah. And you can just see, I'll put my splits up. It tells the whole story. I was super excited, ran way too fast with the Evo SLs in the first 4 miles. The next 4 miles were a little bit slower than that, and then it's just a downward descending staircase until I kicked up for the last, was that third of a mile? Probably because my legs were just screaming, and pretty much did a lot of the first in that block the wrong way. Got hurt in late December. I think it was the day before New Year's Eve. I was doing Romanian deadlifts in the gym, an exercise that I've done countless times. But on this particular day, I guess I was just feeling strong. I thought I was feeling strong. And did a careless rep and paid for it. I think it was just a really bad muscle spasm in my back. And I thought it was a herniated disc. I thought it was horrible because it was immediate pop sensation and pain, and I just walked out of the gym. So that happened. I was out for 2 weeks, full weeks, no running. Got back into running slowly, and at this point we're late January, and I'm like, I've got two months left to really train hard and to get my mileage back up. So that's exactly what I did. I ran as much as I could in February and March, and peaked at 65 miles. So I think I ramped back up to the 40s in January. Was in the 40s and 50s in February, and then all of March I was almost at 60, peaking at 65. So I got up to decent mileage for your first marathon. So I was proud of that. I hit the taper, I felt good, and then I got sick 2 days before. So it was on a Sunday, or maybe it was Thursday, I got sick. And of course, with all the other paranoia that you're experiencing, this was just one more thing where I was like, oh no, you've got to be kidding me. I've done all this training, all this running, haven't gotten hurt, injured, or sick. And now, in the week that I can't afford to get sick, something happens. So the silver lining was that it was from my neck up, all the symptoms. So it was mild congestion, brain fog, kind of a fatigue, but I ran through it. So I tapered a little bit harder than I wanted to, but I was just trying to shake it. So I was doing all the vitamins, drinking so much water, resting, doing all those things to try to get myself in a position to run this race. Because that's the thing with these races and marathons, you get one day. You get one day and you can't move it, you can't change it, so whatever happens, happens. And for me, I came in less than 100%, which sucked. So Saturday, instead of having my idyllic just drive down there, low stress, early dinner, early bedtime, real life doesn't always lend itself to that. And again, I'm just an amateur recreational runner. These races shouldn't mean that I put myself in a bubble. So that Saturday, we had my niece's birthday party at my brother's house, and they live pretty close to Philly proper, so they were kind of already on the way. So we were just going to leave right from the party to drive down to Delaware to get to the hotel to get dinner and then just chill. So we ended up leaving there, I don't know, around 3:30, maybe closer to 4. And of course, driving to Delaware, it doesn't matter what time of day, it doesn't matter what day of the week, you're going to hit traffic. Got there around 5:30, 6 o'clock, checked into the hotel, got settled, and then it was time to order pizza. It was time to just get some food in me. They had pretzels at my niece's birthday party, so I was already on the carb load. I wasn't tracking how many carbs I had, but it was a good amount. I had a lot of pretzels. So got pizza, got to bed at a decent time, like 8:30, 9 o'clock, fully expecting that I was going to get, 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep. Because I had heard from so many people, watched enough YouTube videos to know that, whether it's your first or 71st marathon or race, the night before is not going to be your best, chances are. So I was fully planning on that. I got in decent sleep the 2 nights before, especially Friday night. So I was like, I'm okay with that 3-4 hours. I ended up getting like 5.5, almost 6, which was incredible. Like, I was already over the moon that I had started with that. So I think I woke up. The race started at what time? 7. I want to say 7. So I got up at, I think, 3:30, something like that. So I was up early. I had 2 everything bagels and a mango juice Monster, which Monster was my sort of go-to long run caffeine drink, but I did want to go with a non-carbonated just in case. So, and the mango one had a lot of sugar in it, so it had a lot of carbs in it. So between those 2, I was like, I'm gonna be good on carbs. I had a lot of pizza the night before, so I just wanted to wake up and get the bagels down. Didn't have access to a toaster, so I just had dry bagels, which were harder to get down. I mean, they were delicious, but at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, they were kind of hard to get down. And so I laid my kid out the night before. I think I might have taken a picture of it, and was kind of just like moseying around in the dark, because my kids were sleeping. We had a suite, so we had one room and then the bathroom and then another like sitting area room. So we just had 2 two pack and plays set up with my son and my daughter sleeping, so I didn't want to wake them up. Actually, I think we might have had my daughter in our room with us. Either way, we had sound machines just blasting, so I don't think they could hear me, but I was trying to be as quiet as I could. I didn't put on my bib until the morning of, which is something I shouldn't have done, because when you're half asleep, trying to put safety pins and getting it to be so that the bib is flat and not like crumpled up, and also like straight, is not something you should try to do the morning of. Anything to add more stress is not ideal, and that might not seem stressful, but you're just putting a bib on your shirt with safety pins. But you'd be surprised how much stress you can feel. So, but I had plenty of time. Like I gave myself so much time. So I just did that for a while. I wanted to get down to the start line, at least an hour and a half. I think it might have been 2 hours before. And we were like a block away. So this hotel was so close, which was perfect because I didn't want to think about traveling. My friend Rian, he was staying at an Airbnb with some people, and they were like 15 minutes away, I think, or something like that. And I was like, it's not worth not being that close. Plus, Becca needed the car. So I just walked. Got there super early. I was so nervous. But just got there, walked around, got familiar with the start area. Again, it was a smaller marathon, so I think there was less than 1,000 runners, easily less, I think. So the starting area wasn't super big, but I just wanted to get familiar and comfortable with it, because I wasn't sleeping anymore anyway. So got there, used the bathroom a couple times, and had water with me. I was just kind of sipping on that. I wanted to wait for Rian to do like a proper shakeout. Plus I had his bib and then another person's bib, which that was not super stressful. I forgot to mention that the night before, everyone checked into the hotel and I ran to the expo to get my bib and two other people's bibs. But the expo was again within walking distance of the hotel. So I just walked, got the bibs. There was like no one there. Super quick in and out. But they had to pin their bibs on race day morning. So when they got there, I got them their bibs, and Rian got his pinned on, and we went for a little shakeout. It was like a mile, if that. Came back, and my parents and my sister Sarah were there waiting for us. So that was really cool to see them before the start. Because again, I was so nervous. I was like crying at random times. Just the emotion of it all leading up to this day was just, it was overwhelming. I mean, there was so much of this day that was overwhelming. So finally, we get into the corral. I guess you would call it that. There weren't like, it wasn't big enough to have like proper corrals. But I think I got in and around the 3:30 pacer, even though I didn't use pacers at all during this race. I mean, I think Strava had me at around 3:30, 3:35. So that should have been the realistic goal for me. but I had, you know, a couple of tempo runs where I had, you know, 11, 12 miles straight where I was running, you know, 7:30, 7:45 miles, which would have put me sub 3:30. So that was in the back of my head and wasn't far enough in the back of my head, actually. I think in my head, I had something to prove. Oh, you see Remy. Yeah, I had something to prove, and I'm really, really hard on myself. And so, yeah, I was not in a, like, psychologically healthy place for this race. So I had these 2 tempo runs, I think, that I was thinking about, where I was hitting, you know, 7:30, 7:40 paces for 11, 12 miles straight and feeling strong. And so I was like, I know that pace. So let's get into it. Let's get into the race. So got in the corral area, and again, I was just so emotional. I was like, man, I'm finally here. Like, this is so surreal. And just trying to take in the moment and get myself prepared for what was about to happen. It was just 26.2 miles. So we set off, and I knew in my head, I'm like, I don't want to go off super fast. I want to just lock in, settle in. And again, there wasn't a ton of support. It started on the boardwalk, but then once you got off the boardwalk, you were kind of in residential streets. And so the support was pretty sparse for a lot of it. But there was still the adrenaline of just my first marathon ever. So I was off. And looking at my splits right now, I mean, for the first 14 miles, I was just like bang on. Like it felt incredible. So I started out in that first mile, 7:44. Again, heart rate 159. So I knew it would be elevated because, you know, race day nerves, energy, adrenaline. But I didn't know about, like, you know, threshold heart rate zones. I just knew that I felt better in that first mile than I thought, because again, I was sick going into it. So I was like, okay, this feels good. So again, mile 2, 7:48, mile 3, 7:42, mile 4, 7:45, mile 5, 7:40. So like, I was within, you know, 5 seconds and hitting these splits. And this was my first marathon ever. So I was pretty happy with that pacing. And it just kept going. It was mostly flat. There was a bigger hill at I think mile 11 or 12 or something like that. But a lot of it was flat. So I just kept ticking miles over and over and over and feeling good. Where I saw my family at mile 6 or 7. I'll put a video in. And I just felt amazing. I didn't expect to see them that early. I thought the plan was for halfway split, and then close to the end, if not the finish line. So I think it was like 13, 20, and then finish line. So seeing them at 6 or 7, and I didn't even know, I just kind of saw them as I was running. It gave me such a boost. I was like so energized by it. I was able to give Becca a kiss, high five. Calvin didn't really know what planet he was on, so he was kind of lost, but seeing them was great, and I was like, this is awesome. And then even again at halfway split. So I mean, these splits are just so tight, and I felt incredible. I'm like, this, I could keep going for miles at this pace. It felt controlled. But as I'm seeing my heart rate, it's telling a little bit of a different story. So I was in the low 160s for those first 10 miles, and then started creeping up. 167 for 10 through, or 11 through 13. And then somewhere in 14, 15, I was hitting my threshold. And as you'll see from the split for mile 15, 8:06. So that was the first time that I had been over 8 minutes. So I went from 7:48 for mile 14 to 8:06. And that was when I was like, okay, this is actually getting hard now. It's too hard to keep it under 8, but I felt like I could keep it close to 8. And so I did for another mile. But then mile 17, that's where I think one of the hills are. It's like this on a freeway. And so you just see things start to drop. So mile 17, 8:29, 18, 8:49, 19, 9:33. So the wall was already hit. I think somewhere in mile 16 or 17, I had to actually walk a little bit, and that actually felt really good. It felt like I was rejuvenated after that. And so I saw them at either 19 or 20, my family, and I'll show another clip.
When I was following Toby, and then I remember that I didn't find her. She did ask for us to.
I was so deep in the pain cave. I was so mentally feeling destroyed. The wall had come for me so hard and so quickly. Going back to the splits, in the span of 1 mile, I dropped almost 20 seconds, and it got worse from there. So mile 19, 9:33, 20, 9:54, 21, 10:03, 22, 11:40. And at mile 20, I wasn't just feeling the bonk. Cramping was also introduced, came on the scene. And that was something I'd never experienced in my entire life. So by the time I hit mile 22 and then 23, it was... Actually, no, it was before that. It was in mile 19, 20, 21, cramping. Full body, calves, hamstrings, quads, you name it. So I had to shuffle, scuffle, waddle my way through those last 8 miles, and it was one of the most isolating things I've ever experienced in my life. one of the darkest moments, which is crazy to think about because I'm just running a race. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not life or death. It's not. But in that moment, it's like there's this mountain in front of you, and you feel like you've just completely and utterly failed. Like the wind just got taken from me. And I was really unkind to myself. It was in around 2021, 22, 23, where you're kind of like in the woods. And so there's a lot of space in between runners. So you're in the sticks by yourself. And I just remember when those cramps came and grabbed me, I would just cry, and I would just want to quit, and I would just want to say, you're so useless, you're so worthless. Like, why did you think that you could do this? Why did you think that you could run how you were? You're not good enough. And this race was never going to feel the way you wanted it to feel. Those are the things that I was saying to myself. Like, it was really bad. Somehow I got out of the woods, not figuratively, because I was still in the thick of it, but physically was in more of like neighborhood running. And that's when, so I had passed Rian, I think in the halfway split, because it was an out and back. So there was a turnaround, and I saw him going the opposite way, and I'm like, I'm not going to see him again until the end. So we gave a high five. It was so good to see him. He was so hype. He was dressed as a charcuterie board, so he was just bringing smiles and laughter to everyone that he saw. So he was amazing. But I heard someone talking loudly to people behind me, and he has a very unique, a very distinct voice, because it's just so peppy, and you're like, no one has pep in mile 20 of a marathon. No one, except for him. So I hear him behind me, and I was praying that he was further behind than I thought, because I did not want him to catch up to me and see how miserable my experience had become. Because I felt embarrassed, I felt ashamed, and I felt like he would want to run with me. And I knew that I just didn't have it in me to push at all. Again, I was waddling at this point. So he comes up to me, and I said, Rian, I've had the best, but also the worst last 20 miles of my entire life. This has been horrible. And he was encouraging, and he was like, I'll stay with you, I'll run with you. And so he stayed with me for, I think, a mile or two. And then I'm like, Rian, just kick on, just go. You've got energy. I'll make it. Just go. So he kicked on. And I think it was mile 24 or 25. Sarah just showed up and just started running with me. And I was telling her, I was like, Sarah, I can't do it. I can't make it. I am in so much pain, and I have so little motivation to get to the finish line. I don't feel like I would get any satisfaction in finishing at this point. I just want to stop. And she was just with me. And so I slogged through those last couple miles, and it was horrible. Like every 25 meters, 50 meters, something would seize up, and I'd have to stop, and I'd have to walk, and then I'd try to shuffle again. And so I knew it was going to happen. somehow in the last, quarter of a mile, nothing cramped up, and I was able to, I don't know, give somewhat of my version of a sprint finish, where I was able to get back to, 8:30 mile pace. Which was a miracle. I didn't think I had it in me. And then, of course, immediately as I crossed the finish line, my right leg just seized. And I was a mess. I was miserable. I was so disappointed in myself. I was so distraught. I was like, this was horrible. I don't want my family to see me. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to cry and just forget that this happened, because it was just horrendous. So I crossed the finish line. I saw my family. I tried to, say hi, and then they tried to congratulate me. I went to a bench, bawled my eyes out, came back, tried to have a better attitude, and I think Becca has pictures of me just sitting on the ground with everyone, and Calvin, I think, is there just like wondering what is going on with Dad. Like, why is he a shell of a person? And yeah, that pretty much sums up how I felt. And then the rest of the day, they just kept trying to say, you just did this thing that not many people do. You should be proud. You should be, satisfied that you were able to make it through. I was like, nope. It was horrible. I suck. I failed. I wasn't good enough. That's it. I'm just gonna wallow. And I did for a while. For a pretty long time. And I felt physically terrible. The cramping for that long, I don't know how long amount of time it was, but for 8 miles, subjecting your body to that, my body hated me. And so the recovery was rough. So rough. And I didn't run for 2 full weeks. I was like, I'm going to be good about that at least. And yeah, that was pretty much it. It was very long. I knew it was going to be long. But that was my first experience. And again, I look back on it, I think it was like a 3:57 or something. I still got sub 4, but I'm still looking at it like, it's something that I want to forget more than remember. But at this point, it was what it was. It was my first experience, my first of many. It was never going to be a one and done. And I learned a lot through that. I learned that I can tolerate a lot of pain and discomfort. And that I do need to have more realistic expectations of myself. And whether I'll stick to that on race day come November in Philly, too soon to tell, because it's not my first, but it's only my second. So I'm still incredibly new to all of this. Again, I've only started running seriously in the last year and a half at this point. So I'm a baby runner. But it's something that I've fallen in love with, and I need to continue to remind myself of that. And so that was my journey to Rehoboth. here's hoping for better things in the future. And again, I can say that I finished a marathon, which again, more people now lately have been able to say that, but as a whole, not many people do. So I'll stick with that. So on that note, remember, it's for the journey, not just the climb. So it's the ups and downs, and everything in between. Again, you can only climb, you can only PB your way to so many heights, and then when you hit that ceiling, what do you have left to run for? So that's kind of my philosophy. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the training, enjoy the relationships, enjoy the benefits that running gives you, because that's going to be way more satisfying in the end than achieving that next height and always trying to progress this way or this way. I guess it goes that way. Anyway, that's it. Rehoboth Beach 2026 done.